topic at the request of some of your residents on the Real Group, saying this is a perfect time to talk about how not to slip and fall. And the weather really cooperated with the topic too. So we think you're going to get a lot of good tips today from Chris and a lot of information, and we want you all to stay on your feet this winter. So Chris is licensed, like I said, occupational therapist, 24 years with Holland Home. She started out with Holland Home Care, which is now called Atrio. And you probably remember several years ago, Holland Home combined with two other companies and made a home care company called Atrio. Atrio, get it? But it's Atrio, and she works for them. So our Holland Home staff are now Atrio staff. So let's welcome Chris and give her a round of applause.
Good afternoon. That was a very nice introduction. Yes, Atrio Home Care. I have been here 24 years. Absolutely love what I do. I enjoy meeting new residents. I'm not as familiar with the Breton campus. I do primarily the Rayburg campus, but I have come over here and seen patients here in this area as well. So this is not a new area, although I did have to ask where this room was because I'd never heard of it. So once I was pointed in the right direction, I got here. So slips and falls. This is perfect weather for this right now. On your sheet, you'll find I just wrote up a little ditty. Falls have their ups and downs. 1 in every 3 or 4 people over 65 will fall this year. We're going to work together to stay out of that club. Did you know that being afraid of falling can sometimes make you more likely to fall? Let's talk more about taking precautions in and out of our homes. That is going to help us walk more confidently and decrease that risk. When I talk about when we're fearful of falling, and sometimes that makes us fall more oftentimes, what I mean by that is sometimes we can rush. And one of the things that you'll see on the sheet is just walking instead of running. When we're a little more fearful of falling, I think we have a tendency to hurry up and get somewhere really fast. So we hurry up to get there. So we don't want to hurry with anything that we do. So tips for fall prevention. Providing seating at the entrance to your home, sitting to put on and take off your shoes, and to put items on, placing items. We do have a tendency to hurry when we do things. So getting dressed or getting our shoes on and off. How many times do we just kind of maybe stand up and then kick our shoes off, or not hang on to anything to kick our shoes off or to put our shoes on? So having a space to sit right by the door so you can sit down, put your shoes on, take your shoes off so you're not trying to do that standing up. I have a patient right now that I'm seeing that, well, she's 80 actually, and she was putting her jeans on, standing up, and she got her foot caught in the leg and went down and broke her pelvis. So it's stuff like that, and it's always good to hear little stories like that. It's like, oh yeah, I do that all the time. How many times do we stand up to do that? I do that. Now I don't as much. So those kinds of things, sitting down to, put your pants on and off, shoes on and off. Wearing shoes. I heard somebody else talking earlier about non-skid shoes, making sure your shoes aren't slippery on the bottom. Today I wore boots, regular boots, snow boots, and then I just changed into my regular shoes when I'm inside. But really watching the tread on your shoes. If they're getting really worn, replacing them if need be. The other thing that I caution people on, because we do have a tendency this time of year to change our shoes. Shoes inside, and then when I come in from outside, putting my slippers on. So you're going from one type of shoe all day, coming home, and then popping on your slippers. So just watching that, making sure that they're fitting good. Most slippers are kind of sloppy. So watching those slippers, if they're not good form-fitting slippers, and maybe taking a look and getting a different pair of those so you don't risk falling. Light switches, putting them at the bottom or at the top or the bottom of the stairs. I know in my house, I don't have that, but when I have people come to visit, like when my dad comes to spend the weekend with us, I will put a, they call it puck light. It looks like a round disc. Has anybody seen those? I know you guys know what I'm talking about. So I just put one of those at the top of the stairs, and you can tap it and then it'll turn on. So then you've got a lit stairway. So making sure you've got good lighting, and maybe you've got a low light that you can turn on, you know, a stairwell light, something so that you can make sure you know where the stairwell is and getting up and down safely. Having proper lighting in the house. You know, if you've got better lighting, some people will get the motion sensor lights so that you've got good lighting in the home. So you're not trying to walk around in the dark, tripping and falling. Anytime you've got poor lighting, it's just, you're going to increase your risk for falls. Leaving a night light on in the bathroom and hallways so you've got some low light and are able to find your way around. Or if you've got visitors coming to stay. All right, non-skid mats. We are big on talking, occupational therapists are really big on rugs. We typically don't like them, but we're open to them. My take on rugs is if you've had that rug in your house for 50 years, and I walk in there and I say, you gotta move that rug. It's ironic how many patients we've had that happen to, and then they've gone and fallen because they haven't had that rug there that they're used to having there for years and years. So I'm not one to quickly say, hold them up, but I am going to look at them closely. Is there any way we can put non-skid underneath there? How can we make it secure? You can get non-skid mats that go underneath them. You can also get tape, a type of a tape that you can put underneath, and then you can actually tape the edges so that you're not going to catch your foot, catch your walker, and risk that fall. Those are just things to think about. I know Meijer, I just was in Meijer this week, and I know they've got a really nice, low profile, not real big, thick, shaggy type thing that's got a non-skid bottom on it, which is really, really nice. Really nice. Lighting. Most of you, I'm going to guess, are at the terrace, maybe some at the ridge, but if you're over in the homes, having lighting, so you've got like automatic lighting when you come in, and you've got like a motion sensor so that the lights come on outside in the garage or the front of the house so that you can see your way in. I think they're really doing a really good job of marketing that and then having that available for people so that when they do pull into their garages, driveways, what have you, they've got the motion sensors go off so that it's well lit. I already talked about walking and not running, and I'm kind of classic at that. You don't see me around here as much as I am at Raybrook, but I am a very fast walker. So I have to watch myself to slow down, make those steps smaller. You know, when it's icy like this, just being really cautious with where you're walking. Walking slower. Hi, Rachel. Another coworker. So just watching your speed with when you're walking and you're not rushing. Stairs. I had a situation one time where a resident was visiting a family member and they weren't familiar with the area, came out of his bedroom to go to the restroom and fell down the stairs because he didn't know where the stairs were. So I really try to caution people to get a layout of your area. Where are you going to be? Family members' houses, where is the bathroom? You know, and if they don't have a nightlight, you know, can I leave the light on? Can I get a nightlight? How can you make sure you don't fall? I also caution people to think about how many stairs do you have to climb? Do you have 16 steps to get up and down, or are there just, 9? Kind of take a mental note of that. So if you're at your family member's home and you've got to go up and down the stairs, oh yeah, I've got 12 steps to get up and down. Just so you kind of got a mental note of how many you're going to have to do it, just so you don't miss one. Thinking about that. Carrying items. I think this is another classic of mine. One trip out of the grocery store. How many bags can you carry? Most women are like that. So really being mindful of not trying to do it all in one trip. Leaving one hand open so you can, whether it's, what we call surfing the furniture if you're not using a walker, holding an item and having something to hang on to, or having that hand free for the stairwell, opening the door, that kind of thing, so that you don't load up and risk that fall. Moving electrical cords. Keeping a really good safe walkway so you don't have cords strung across the walkway. I've had people try to kind of tuck it behind, like a coffee table, behind chairs so that it's not going to catch your foot up. If you do use a walker and happen to have oxygen, one thing I've told patients to try to do is you've got the oxygen on and it's hanging down here. Grab a hold of it with one hand and then hang on to the walker. So you've kind of got an idea, a little bit of a feel for where it is, and it doesn't just walk between your legs. Is anybody using oxygen at all? I don't see any oxygen here. But if you were, or if you happen to see somebody and say, hey, this is a handy little tip, try to hang on to it. Put it in your hand, and then you hang on to the walker with the other hand. So you kind of have an idea where it is. Placing items that you need to get to. Instead of trying to reach up into that third shelf of the cupboard to grab your coffee cup that you have every day, bring it down lower. One of the references I was reading about, it talked about using ladders and making sure you get a really good sturdy ladder. I'm going to actually encourage you not to use ladders. I'd rather you didn't climb up on the ladder. So really take a look at what do you use most oftentimes. Do you bake brownies and you have that one pan that you use? Bring it down so you can get to it easier. So you're not having to go up on the third shelf, standing on a chair, using a ladder to get the item. Bringing things down to a safer height so you can reach them. Non-skid mat. We talked a little bit about the rugs in our homes, but I'm also going to touch on using non-skids in the bathtub or the walk-in shower. The biggest complaints I hear about that is they get icky. So you have to be able to pick them up. So it's the picking up part that makes me more cautious for people, because typically we're doing it, most of you don't have bathtubs, I don't think. Do you? Anybody have tubs?
Everybody.
Yeah.
You have a tub? Oh.
The shower.
Okay, all right, so it's not just a walk-in, you have a bathtub as well. So this is how I would do it. This is me thinking how I'm going to get my bath mat out of the shower. I'm probably not going to think about it till I get out of the shower. So I'm out of the shower, now I got to reach into the shower to grab a hold of it, which isn't the best for body mechanics. You're kind of, anytime you're throwing your balance off a little bit, you're going to have an increased risk for falls. And those bath mats, if they're good, they're going to have a good stick to them so they don't come up very easily. So you got to kind of give them a tug. So that's where I just kind of caution you. I just be really careful how you're picking it up, when you're picking it up. It's probably going to be safer if you dry off and then try to pick it up while you're still in the tub versus reaching over into the tub. The other thing I've done is use the non-skid strips. Do you know what I mean by that? So they come in, well, think about, do you remember when they used to use like decals on the bottom of the tub? Remember those? Same kind of idea, but they have strips. What I don't like about the strips is they're white. I mean, there's pros and cons. They're white so they don't look as bad into the bathtub. But they're white, and then you can't see them in the bathtub. So I kind of like the colors, because then they give you a visual as to where they are, where you want to put your feet and step. So using those are things that you don't have to pick up. So you put those down, then you don't have to pick them up. Does that make sense? Yeah? The other thing I use those non-skid strips for is to wrap around a grab bar. If you have a secure grab bar in there on the outside of the wall, or if they're inside, I put those around it to kind of give you a little bit more of a grip around that grab bar, because they can be slippery. And if they don't have a little bit of friction on them already, that gives you a little bit of friction, something to grab onto, just a safer feel. The last class I got asked about suction cup grab bars. Suction cup grab bars. What do you guys think about those?
No good.
I'm not totally against them. The thing that I tell people, because there are situations, I know at Raybrook, I'm not as familiar with the Breton showers as much, but they cannot put secured grab bars in the walls there. So we have situations where, okay, what do? I need something to hang on to. So I have used them with patients. The biggest thing with them is I tell people before you use it, every single time, you undo it and you re-secure it and you give it a good tug. Because they've been known to just fall off the wall in the middle of the night for no apparent reason. I make sure that the wall is really clean. It has to be a flat, smooth surface, so it can't have any kind of a texture to it. And I think most of your places are all just the smooth surface. What you have to be careful is, though, it can't be on any kind of a bend. If it bevels at all, it's got to be flat. It can't be in the curve at all. So you've got to make sure it's totally out of that area. So I have used them. You know, would I suggest the other one better if I could give somebody a choice? Yes, I would definitely suggest the other. It's going to be the safest thing to have. But I think for people that have just like a hand tool just to kind of make sure they're aiming in the right direction, walking in okay, it's not too terribly bad. Any questions about that? It's kind of a hot topic most places, those darn suction cup grab bars. We talked about light, the grab bars, but the other thing that I've noticed is a light in the shower. Some places, some showers don't, you guys are smiling. Do you have a light in your shower? No, isn't that funny? I find that really interesting. And are you here or at the Ridge? Okay. So I know of a place at the Ridge that they don't have a light in their shower either, which I thought was interesting. So what I've done for someone else is actually gotten them one of those puck lights. And you just stick that up there, and when you go to get in the shower, you just tap it. Yeah. They're pretty brilliant. I love them. I have them throughout my house. But they work really nice if you want more light in the shower, for sure. Did you have a question? No. Okay. Cell phones, or I heard some people talking about their alert buttons. Big thing to have that with you, whether you're just walking around your apartment, if you happen to go out anywhere, walking, having either a cell phone with you or having your life alert button. I had a resident or a patient of mine that was actually in the community, was out in the yard, fell, didn't have his phone, his wife was inside watching TV with the TV up, she couldn't hear him, he couldn't get up, finally got up, but by the time he got up, he'd injured both legs and needed help to totally get in the house. But it's a situation where if you do fall, having that ability to make that phone call. I even tell my husband when he takes the dog out, because we have a hill out the back and he's, I can't tell you how many times, wiped out going down the hill. And, you know, if something were to happen, having that phone with you at all times is a good idea. Some of the people have said they use like a buddy system. You know, I'm going to call my girlfriend, say, hey, I'm hopping in the shower, you know, just to give you a heads up. If you don't hear from me in an hour or so, you know, give me a shout. Something like that, just so you have a buddy system. If you don't have some, you know, someone that you're living with, if you can just have that phone call, that'd be good. We talked about knowing your surroundings, railings for steps. I'm going to imagine most of these places here do have them. I'm thinking of maybe home, so you have a couple steps to step into the garage. If you can get a railing put in, some people will be able to put in like a grab bar outside on the wall, something where you've got something to hang on to and grab onto. I don't think you guys probably, if you're here at the terrace, that's not an issue most often times. And I think the new homes they're building, I think they're doing like a zero steps. Has anybody been over to the new places at all? No? To check them out? Clutter in walkways. That is a tough one, because if you're sitting in an area, if you've got your spot, you've got your chair that you sit in, you've got your, you know, the TV set up, and it's real easy to have your stuff. I have a resident I just saw at another facility yesterday, and I could tell exactly where his stuff was, because he laid on the couch, but he had a whole pile of desk, office stuff, all on the floor, which was growing into his walkway. So coming up with a way of just trying to organize it, and that's one thing that, as a therapist, I might do as well. You know, if I walk into your house and I see that, I just might say, you know, can I help you maybe organize this stuff so that you don't have a risk for fall. Because you can see where if you are, if you're laying on the couch and you've got the items and you're on the couch, but you're bending over and trying to get to things, bending over, risking that, risking falling, toppling off the couch, off the edge of the bed or a chair and so forth. So how can we help you to be able to get to your stuff and be able to reach it safely and not risk falling at all? Night lights, we talked about night lights. I had a couple others that when it's with this weather, I have a shaker that I made out of a juice container with salt in it. So when I'm out and about traveling with patients and I see it's icy, some of my patients, if they're not here, I do them in the community. They may not be able to get out to shovel their driveways or their sidewalks. So I may take my little salt shaker thingy and salt their driveway, salt their sidewalk so that I can get in safely in and out and somebody else can get in and out safely. The other thing I've used with a resident is, again, getting out of a car, you get out of the car and then you may hit that icy spot. I've suggested taking salt. The other thing is salt is a good one. I hear people say kitty litter, sand, those items are good as well. A rug, just a mat, throwing down a mat so that when you get out of the car, you've got something that is sturdy to stand on. And you won't risk any falls at all. That's just another little thing that I've used with somebody as well. Somebody else in the last class actually mentioned yak tracks, which is great for if you're going to be out walking. Do you guys know what I mean with those are? Mm-hmm. No. So they're like a little, it goes on your shoe, and it's kind of got like little spirally things, but it gives you grip if you're going to be out walking. If you were to go for a walk, I wouldn't really recommend them if you're going to go walk in and out of the car and then go into the grocery store because then they're going to be slippery. But if you're a walker, if you like to go out and about walking, I do have people that I know that swear by these things and they wear them to the grocery store and they wear them in and out of the store. But to me they're slippery because they kind of have a wire spiral thing on the bottom and I wouldn't recommend that at all. But if you like to get out walking and enjoying the nature and stuff, that's a really good thing to have. Sure. Any questions about anything? You guys are quiet. Can I tell you any more about home care? Has anybody had any home care?
At HBO.
Oh, good. Hope you liked it.
Very well.
Oh, good, good. So the whole purpose of home care, what we want to do as a therapist, our job is, what we want to do for you is to help you stay at home. It's our job to come in there and we're going to look at things. What can we do in your environment to keep you safe, decrease the risk for falls? All these things that we talked about, that's stuff I'm looking at. If I come into somebody's home, I'm looking at that. How can we, because again, like I said, our goal is to keep you home. We're not there to say, okay, you got to get out of here. We want to help you stay home. How can we do that for you? So that's our intent. And that's the part of my job that I really, really like to do, because it's coming up with creative ways of thinking. How can we do little things? Like there was no light in the shower. Well, how can we fix that? Well, let's try one of these little lights. So it's simple stuff like that. It's fun, creative to come up with, and it keeps you safe in your homes. The little non-skid strips on things, on the grab bars. So that you feel secure and comfortable when you do shower. It's the last place anybody wants to fall, that's for sure. Yes?
Do we need to have a doctor's order in order to, is this covered by Medicare?
It is, yep. Home care is covered by Medicare, and yes, you do need a doctor's order. What you would do, there's actually some magnets out there. If you call the number on there to say, hey, I've got an order from my doctor for home care. This is what I'm looking at. This is the issues, that kind of thing. Yeah. And the other thing, I'm glad you brought that up, is just to always know that if you always have a choice. You always have a choice. If you go into the hospital or you happen to go to the doctor and the doctor says, oh, okay, I want you to go get, here's one. I want you to go get outpatient, and I've got this great new clinic out on such and such street, which is great. But that is something we can provide for you here as well. And the benefit of that is we still can come to your home. So you're still getting outpatient. It's under the umbrella of outpatient. but we can still come to your home, and you don't have to go drive out somewhere. If you're getting home care where it's Medicare covered, we, again, still come to your home, and you don't have to go out anywhere for that. So that is a nice thing, but just know that you always have an option, because they may suggest where they want you to go, and that's your choice. You could go there as well, but just know that you have a choice. Yes? Woo. Surprise!
I used HO home, the health care when I had a back compression.
Okay.
And I had a physical therapist, occupational therapist, a nurse, and they were all connected.
Yep, yep.
And they all had real close connection to my doctor. And that really gave me a very good feeling.
Yeah. That is a nice thing to do. That's one, you know, we have a computer that we use. So what's great about it is we all have access to everybody's notes. And we do. We have to be in constant contact with each other. So we know what the nurse is doing. We know when the nurse is going. We know when the other therapist, the physical therapist, speech therapist, or OT. And just having that constant connection with each other. Because bottom line, our goal is to help you to get better and to stay healthy and active if you're still, yeah. Yeah. Anything else? Yes.
If a person falls on her back,
Yep.
can you show how you can turn around?
I
and
knew
get
somebody was
on
gonna
your
ask me
knees
that.
and so forth?
Yes, I will show you that. So, I'm gonna put this down. Can I turn this off?
On the very bottom.
Nope.
Okay. So, yeah, so falling, okay, so you fall, I'm gonna graciously fall down here. So I'm down, and if you can get up, what you wanna do is, what's the hardest thing to do is to go all the way from the floor, all the way up. So you wanna bridge it. So you wanna get,
Hold on one second.
Oh.
I want to videotape you.
oh, good.
I know. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Can you go back down, fall gracefully?
I'm gonna make him do the fall, no. This is a hard floor.
Well, and there's our two.
So you're down, okay, and the whole idea is, yeah, you've got to get back up. So if you can get to your knees, you can get to your knees and then get to a chair. So I'm going to use your chair because you're sitting in it. So you want to bridge it. You don't want to try to go from here straight up. It's going to be easier if you bridge it up. So you're down, come over onto your knees. You go to a chair, a footstool. I've used that with a footstool somebody. So you're here, you're at a footstool. You're here, and then you're just gonna come up like that. Super easy, doesn't it? It's typically not as easy as that, I'll be honest.
One person, so if you're on your back, put your arms out, and then that way you can roll over to get onto your knees.
Okay, so yep, so what you want to do in that situation, so, okay, so you fell and you're on your back. All right, you're on your back. So typically this is what you're going to do. So what you really want to do is bend your knees, and that's going to get you to roll. Does that make sense?
But you put one arm straight out.
Well, what you're doing is you're kind of going in the direction you want to go. So the arm out is helping you to get to that direction. But bending your knees is going to help. It helps you to rotate. Yeah, you're decreasing the distance you've got to go. You're going from here to here. So coming onto your knees like that. Does that make sense? Yeah? And then again, coming to the chair, getting the chair, and then getting up. That's the most graceful I've fallen.
Can you get up on the table and do that? We couldn't see. We couldn't see.
It's not an easy transfer.
So
It's not-
so just kind of take your mic and repeat what the bending of the knees does, and
Okay.
yeah.
So the concept with bending of the knees, and this kind of would go with bed mobility, moving in bed. So if you're all this length, it's going to be harder to move. But if you shorten the distance, it's going to be easier to do the bend, to do the rotation, to bend, to roll. Does that make sense? Yeah? Yeah. Yes,
Would you do
ma'am.
the same thing if you broke your hip?
Sorry?
Would you do the same thing if you broke your hip?
Oh, boy. Do you have hip precautions?
Yeah.
I call for help, for sure. I mean, the other thing is this is a hard transfer if you've got bad knees. You know, and I've had patients use this transfer if they're in the tub and got stuck. Anytime you gotta come over on your hands and knees, it's hard on your knees if your knees are hard, if your knees are painful, that's hard. So, I mean, that would be something, you know, it's real easy to sit up here and say this is what you would do, but you have to realize that every single person is gonna be different. Your fall might look totally different from your fall and how I'm gonna get you up. There's not a one size fits all, is the best way to put it. And the person's traumatized, it's very scary. I fell walking my dog on black ice in the middle of the road and just flat on my back, same thing, flat on my back, and I was in a lot of pain. So to move as easily as I just showed you could move, it doesn't always happen if you're painful. So you have to take that in consideration as well. Yes, ma'am.
I have knee troubles,
Yep.
like you mentioned, but I keep some little cushions at various places in the apartment that I can get to if I need to.
That's a good idea. I was just going to suggest cushions or a pillow. Yep, I've had people do that. I've had people keep, you know, those little gardening knee pad things? Those things have those around, so you've got something to kneel onto as well. Yeah.
If you call 911, they will come and pick you up.
There you go. That's
I've
true.
heard that before. We
That is
pick you
true.
up. Enterprise does that too. And that's why it's good to have that membership for Life EMS. I
Right.
think it's like
Yeah.
40, $50, and that way you're covered on your,
When's the annual renewal?
I think it's just a rolling renewal, depending on when you sign up.
A friend of mine recently, she lives over in one of the apartments on Eastern Avenue, got up in the middle of the night around 2 o'clock to use the bathroom, and she started out and she got dizzy and she fell into the bathtub and she could not get out. But she had a bathroom window open, and the people who lived next door, she waited until 10 o'clock in the morning, and she heard someone slide a door, and she called to them, and they had to break her door down and come in and get her, but she could not move. And sometimes I suppose you get in that position.
Yeah, and that, like you had said, you know, if you're traumatized, it's real easy for me to show you getting up, popping up here. But if you're traumatized or painful, it is harder. It just makes it even more difficult. And that's a situation where, you know, when I said, oh, always take your phone with you, I'm not sure I would have remembered to take my phone to the bathroom at 2 in the morning either. So there is something about that, you know, so when I talked a little bit about the buddy system, so having that morning buddy system, another resident that I see actually every morning at the same time calls her daughter. So when the daughter doesn't get that phone call, okay, shoot, I better double check. So I mean, that's another thing, maybe if she would have done that, might have been helpful, instead of waiting till 10 in the morning. That's a long time to wait. That's a long time to wait.
Anybody have another question?
Oh, so you called it.
I'm thinking I'll just, when I get to be this age or I'm gonna fall, I'll just keep a backpack on me with snacks, water,
That's
a
a
little
good
cell
idea.
phone.
That is a good idea.
Yeah, a little knee
Well-
pad. These are great. You're making me think about
I know,
this.
we might have to come up with a little,
Yeah,
backpack.
survivor
Say
kit.
Survivor kit, fall survivor kit. That's an idea, that is an idea. Any other questions? Hopefully I was helpful with,
Very.
yes, ma'am.
I had situations where the people that gave me the emergency response button said, it's okay to wear it in the shower, just not in the tub. Okay, so I wore it in the shower,
Okay,
and because I have problems reaching my back, I have one of those, I don't know what you call them.
Grab bar.
long handle scrub.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yep.
That sets off the call button.
Really?
So when you've got the shower running full force and the call button goes off, what do you do?
they get on and say, are you okay? That's funny, it set it off, that's crazy. Yeah,
Not funny at the time, right?
not
Carol?
funny at the time, sorry. Yeah, that would be crazy.
That would be bad.
Yeah.
They come
And I'm not
crashing
gonna tell
in.
you to take it off, because I want you to wear it, I think you should wear it.
Scrub with your other hand.
There you go, I didn't want to hear what you did.
All right.
Anything else?
Myers has a nice selection of night lights,
I do.
all lights that turn on and off on timers.
Yeah.
And they're vibrant and they're not very expensive.
Yeah, I do like those. That's an option, I didn't think about that, where the motion in the house. I do like that, that's a good idea.
So she said Meyer has a selection of the lights. Like, so as you're walking, you can have lights and see at night, right?
Yep. And I know the puck lights, I actually bought those online. I would imagine somebody might sell those somewhere, I'm sure they might. But I bought them online. They're kind of nice to have.